Howdy there, gamers. Welcome back to the channel. So, the other day, me and Dukesy at 5 in the morning walked around Boulder Cove with the seal morph on. That's all that we did. And, I don't know, I guess people thought it was funny. So me and Dukesy jumped off a roof. And then I remembered that they updated the seal guide.
Oh yeah, also, shout out to Altwood. He helped me with this. He read shit. Thanks.
Section 1. Introduction. Beginning in 2024, motivated by brewing tensions in East Asia and the Middle East, and particularly the rise of the new Chinese Empire, the United States government commissioned the SEAL program. Its sole premise had been the subject of debate as to its necessity for decades prior, to revolutionize the idea of the infantryman in modern warfare and combat as a whole. To do this, however, required the program to be held in complete secrecy, with only the highest echelon of the government and the military having limited awareness of its existence alone. The defense contractors, chiefly DARPA and the weapons manufacturer D-Corp, were only given a basic idea as to the purpose of the parts and equipment they'd be assigned to develop over the program's lifespan. As well as this, the program commissioned multiple pharmaceutical and medical companies, including Cerberus Dynamics, in the later stages of the program, under the guise of inauspicious one-off defense contracts. Section 2. Conscription. Recruitment for the program started early as 2030 when escalation of the war was becoming more prominent. This turned a lot of heads in the program, as the suits were not planned to be ready until 2031 for testing. The U.S. government peer-pressured the top brass within the program to begin recruitment early, which had resulted in exigent circumstances being taken to ensure the top candidates were among those selected of the best special forces units the U.S. had to offer at the time. These ranged from men and women, both who retained a more seasoned status within the military. It was a mandate that all candidates had previously served in some form of ground combative roles to lessen the constraint on more resources being put forth to training. Major espionage during World War III led the U.S. government to take extremely protective measures to prevent the SEAL program from being leaked. The military expected that knowledge of this program would eventually come out after the deployment of SEALs, but they wanted to make sure that the deployments would catch the ACMF off guard. To ensure that the SEAL program remained a secret, various methods were employed. Upon the selection of a SEAL candidate, they were pulled aside and given basic information in private by a representative. Those who denied the offer to join were strong-armed and threatened in various different ways until they complied. Section 3. Training. The program's training regiment, Phase 1, pushed even the most seasoned of military veterans to their literal limits. Every waking hour of the next 3 phases would be taken up by training. Those who passed the nearly 3-month-long preliminary physical and mental acclimation tests were moved forward into the second phase of training. This included the briefing of all inductees on the program's main attraction, the Mark I SEAL suit. They were put into VR training to temper and perfect their performance prior to Phase 3. The combat training, which the inductees went through, refreshed them and trained them in the most practical knowledge of close-quarter battle strategy. As well as this, the VR training had also been used for SEER-style interrogation training. After finishing Phase 2, inductees were trained in real-world combat courses while wearing example exoskeletons, which were practically cumbersome to wear, in contrast to the actual Mark I suit. During these drills and exercises, they demonstrated the proper caution that went into combat while wearing such a device. Those that completed this phase went on to have a neural chip manufactured by Cerberus Dynamics implanted at the base of their neck and were assigned a suit. After this, they continued training with the Mark Is, which proved easy due to their prior preparation. By graduation, the candidates had spent over a year in training. Section 4. Facilities. Immediately upon the program's development, the main concern of both concealing the program, housing candidates, and ensuring proper supplies reaching the required areas brought up the request for dedicated areas solely devoted to the SEAL program itself. This solution was met by the concept of 2 types, both a SEAL facility dedicated to the candidates themselves and the training of future SEALs, but also a dedicated location of construction and research, known mostly as development groups, split up among the regions of America as to supply certain areas of the continental United States. Most facilities were converted military facilities, normally based on pre-existing formations with an underground basin to expand upon to both save money and ensure that the secrecy of the program remained consistent. ICBM silos and other underground installations were prime targets for the newfound construction effort, already bearing the necessary infrastructure to begin extensive groundwork without alerting the locals in the area as to the military's motives. Finally, when all preparations were said and done, the facilities were completed with a split in mind. SEAL training facilities were scattered across America, with the world never truly knowing what lied within. Section 5. SEAL Commanders. SEAL Commanders were created in mind to be the figureheads of the program outside of the top brass, and only those among the best of the program were chosen to be indoctrinated into this prestigious role, and were intended to have vast authority over larger company-sized groups of SEALs. Most commanders were all veterans of the military and a higher standing, and ranged from ages 30 to 35. Unfortunately, due to the events of the Flash, only a select few had actually been able to carry out their role as a SEAL commander during the invasion of Rockport, and thus resulted in many never being used to their fullest potential. After the Flash, many have been forgotten or became susceptible to the event itself. Those that remain are a rare sight to see, and are often seen as a light of hope and authority among the last SEALs remaining across the United States. Section 6. SEAL Descendants. It wasn't an impossibility that by the end of the nuclear winter, or even before it, the families of the SEALs had been an inevitability for many of the post-Flash remnants, either settling down among the Wastelanders or reuniting with their pre-Flash loved ones. The SEALs of the program would go on to ensure that the next generation of SEALs would come to fruition. Either mentored or fathered by the remnants of the program, the first generation of Descendants would go on to learn from the remnants, bearing the old memories of their ancestors through the suits that they would carry from there on out. Section 7. Deployment. Only very few SEALs had ever had the privilege of seeing deployment in the United States during the invasion of the southeastern borders, and these were the men and women of the Rockport facility. During the beginning hours of the invasion, the SEALs withheld from deploying as the United States government feared publicizing them too early, and relied upon the National Guard to thwart the incoming threat of the ACMF forces, though this would drastically change when the President of the United States safety came into play when his transport crashed in the downtown district of Rockport, prompting the immediate order for them to deploy. While the SEALs remained victorious in their mission to secure the President and punch a hole in the heart of the invading forces, the events to follow soon after would change the world as they knew it forever. Section 8. Post-Flash. Those who were not killed by the blasts began to emerge from training facilities scattered around the U.S. They were left without a purpose. With their countries destroyed, they wandered the wasteland and began anew, leasing themselves out, protecting communities, bringing justice, seeking revenge against the ACMF, or even joining many groups that sprouted up in the post-apocalypse world. The myth of the Synthetically Engineered Assault League became legendary amongst Wastelanders. Games. The following are games that SEALs can be role-played in. After the Flash 1, not remastered. After the Flash 3 and 3R. After the Flash Deep 6, only as Descendants. After the Flash Deep Winter. After the Flash Mirage. After the Flash 7.5. Synthetically Engineered Assault League 2020 SEAL Suit Guide. SEAL Suit Mark 1. Created in the late 2020s after the commissioning of the Synthetically Engineered Assault League, the Mark I SEAL suit was the final design plan. By 2031, a sufficient number of suits were manufactured and testing began. Envisioning the potential range of application, further designs and tests began on variants of the Mark I, though they were never properly manufactured. One of the biggest design plans intended for the Mark I was size. It was the program's intention to design SEALs to be akin to a heavy infantry role in ground combat opposed to stealth. This is also why the program selected from those in ground combat roles opposed to roles that operated in an environment like space or air. The Mark I SEAL suit added 7 inches from the normal human height, giving SEALs a tall and intimidating physique that allowed them to operate efficiently on the field. As part of the SEAL program, trained users received neural implants attached to their spinal cords, which would effortlessly transmit the intended movements from the user into the suit, as well as some utilities. However, the usage of the suit does not require this implant, with users only experiencing slight delays to their movements and lacking some features that implanted users would have access to. Mark I helmet. The standard issue helmet of a SEAL, so to speak, was designed to be the jack of all trades, as while it featured enhanced technological features like the heads-up display, it also featured the excellent balance between protection and practicality. The helmet's visor was layered with dense ballistic glass, capable of deflecting most small arms fire. It also featured an airtight filtration system to repel airborne pathogens. The helmet also had the ability to be removed at the operator's leisure, with the same functionality as exiting the suit. However, the most unique attribute to the Variant A SEAL helmet was the ability to uplink and connect with SEAL drones and military devices such as PDAs. Most SEALs were capable of issuing commands to drones and providing a live feed to friendly forces, which had essentially revolutionized military reconnaissance. Mark I Suit Specifications. Variant A Suit Armor. A composite mix of steel, carbon fiber, and other materials to create a mix between protection and weight, 230 pounds. Although this is still a considerably heavy weight, the exoskeleton within the suit allows the user to make more fluid and less weighted movements. Designed as a jack of all trades, the Variant A suit can outright ignore small arms fire, but a 50 caliber round or greater can irreversibly damage a suit with a direct hit, and continued hits will break through the armor panels, killing or maiming the user. Concussive force is a potential risk, albeit the Variant A suit is designed to absorb shock damage from fragmentation and high explosive weaponry, such as a grenade launcher or a grenade itself. It cannot, however, survive direct impact. Joint servos located on the exterior of the suit are a difficult weak point to exploit. However, if one is capable of striking one of these weak points with anything such as a rifle caliber, it may momentarily lock up until it calibrates. The outer material of the servos are resistant to the elements, which is industrial-grade silicone. Sustained fire from a rifle caliber or higher will permanently damage the joint servos. It is nearly impossible to hit these joints while the suit is moving. Perhaps the most armored section of the suit is its fusion battery pack, which is capable of powering the suit for years on end without requiring recharge. The pack can withstand a couple of direct hits from an anti-material rifle before failing and requiring the operator to perform an emergency exit from their suit. On the back of the battery pack are red lights for IFF purposes. They are toggleable and can be turned on or off at the discretion of the operator. These IR signatures are only visible through the built-in SEAL HUD and night vision devices. Suit utility. Due to the exoskeleton, users can pick up significantly heavier objects than normal with relative ease, and fatigue would take much longer. However, if power is lost, the full weight of the suit and its movements are on the user, potentially stopping a SEAL in their tracks, or at the very least slowing them down to the point of combat ineffectiveness. Due to a closed electrical system and the onboard battery located on the back of the suit, EMPs and electronic infiltration systems are useless, making SEALs virtually immune to electronic warfare. Exiting the suit requires only the use of a built-in button located on the inner left wrist with an armored panel covered in place to prevent the accidental activation. Once pressed, the suit opens outwards, the helmet hinges up, allowing the user to simply step out and forward. Heads-up display. The SEAL HUD, or heads-up display, is a transparent display projected directly onto the SEAL's visor. The military began to develop HUDs for all soldiers during World War III, and it was only natural that they would have chose to integrate the system into the SEAL suit. However, SEAL HUDs have a few unique abilities that separate them from the normal military HUDs that were produced at the time. Its capabilities include range finding, night vision, weapon reticles, and a rudimentary GPS, which no longer works due to the lack of satellites post-flash. Miscellaneous abilities include displaying the user's vital signs and showing the current state of their suit and drones, along with their battery life, These abilities are accessible in all SEAL helmets. The HUD functions via the user's neural implant. Without it, only the suit's battery life and status are displayed. Certain aspects of the HUD can be used through PDAs as well, such as controlling drones and displaying their camera feeds. If a SEAL's visor is seriously damaged or broken, the HUD will no longer function. Intercommunication System. INCOM is the name given to the intercommunication system that allows SEALs to contact each other from long distances. INCOM is actually a headset installed in each and every type of SEAL helmet. It can be removed with tools from the outside of the suit. It has a range of around 30 miles. A retractable antenna on the suit's pack is what allows for this range, so if it's damaged or retracted, the user will have trouble contacting SEALs from anywhere beyond 3 miles. INCOM may be connected to other radio communication systems. SEALs communicating through their INCOM headset can still be heard through their suit, but the sound is somewhat muffled. Suit storage. One thing that would come to mind whilst out in the field was storage. Operators would need to be able to carry extra ammunition during battle and would also need a way to store tools and equipment. With little to no extra room on the suit itself, a large adjustable external rig was created to fulfill that purpose. The rig itself attaches onto the sides of the battery pack and wraps around and connects on the front of the waist. 2 straps also wrap onto the top of the chest and connect onto the battery pack, that way for extra support. On the sides of the rig are large pouches which are able to contain large amounts of ammunition and also hold extra tools meant for the suit repairs and maintenance. The set of pouches that go with the rig are able to be removed and switched out to the operator's liking. On the right and left thighs, a holster can be attached for sidearms or drop leg pouches for additional storage.
Once again, thanks to Altoid for recording that. He's a cool guy, and also has like 3 SEAL characters. He's way too fucking dedicated to ATF. Please Notes. SEAL suits and drones are not allowed in Deep 6. SEALs are not an organized faction in any of the games other than 3R. SEALs are allowed to work together in groups with similar goals in mind. Super SEAL suits, along with the variant B and C, are only lore items. SEAL suits may only be used by members of the faction. Mark II SEAL suits may only be used by operators in the SLF. The 2020 SEAL Drone Guide. SEAL Drone Lore. SEAL drones were the first to be designed by the program before the Mark I had actually been manufactured, and were originally intended to be a lightweight and agile military reconnaissance drone for the main infantry branches of the United States military. When the possibility arose that these drones could be created to serve a greater purpose for the SEAL program, it was ultimately decided that they'd be created to work in tandem with the SEAL Suit Mark I to not only revolutionize military reconnaissance, but also allow them to act as a combat advisor and assistant to their designated operator. However, the expenses to manufacture these drones at the exact same time as the SEAL suit itself only allowed for a limited number of these units to actually ever be built. Very few SEALs were given the privilege of commanding one of these drones as a result. 2 variations of the SEAL drone were created, dubbed the Type A and Type B, both of which earned their nicknames as the Scouter and Carrier drones. These units shared very similar design traits, however served very different roles. Type A served a role in stealth with aerial reconnaissance, whereas Type B was designed to operate on the ground, allowing it to excel in very marshy and jungle-like environments with its insect-esque appendages. Both of these drones shared the same artificial intelligence features, which would have made them a deadly threat to their enemies during World War III. They could perform even the most mundane of actions, though when required would be precise and tactical without even requiring input or request from their designated operator. These drones could communicate via external speakers located on the exterior of its armored shell, either to learn enemy or relay orders to infantry, and while they had the ability to do this, most communicated with their operator via messages located on their heads-up display. To the surprise of many, these drones had developed a more strong and self-aware AI over time after many years in the apocalypse, and were even capable of more advanced communication. While these drones could be seen as the ghost in the machine, they were incapable of developing emotion or adapting personalities that would otherwise make it the exact opposite of military design. Drone chassis. Drones are comprised of the same material utilized on the SEAL suits, however, it sacrifices protection over agility and speed. While it can outright stop a pistol caliber, rifle calibers will only deflect and will eventually weaken or destroy the drone's shell. An optical camera is located on the very center of the drones to provide clear video feed to an operator. Thin ballistic glass shields the camera, only offering protection against debris and blunt force. Armament. While drones were intended to be paired with an operator, it was determined that they still needed a means of self-defense in the event that they were compromised. All drones were equipped with a standard belt-fed 9x 19mm fully automatic pistol located at the bottom of its chassis, which could have up to 50 rounds at a time loaded internally. Utility. Drones, much like the Mark I SEAL suit, are powered by fusion energy located on the very shell of the drone in its 2 battery packs. Both of these batteries can be removed by an operator, and the drone may also recharge from a SEAL suit's battery pack once attached. The optical camera provides high-definition video feedback to its operator, which allows it to seamlessly switch between vision modes like infrared and night vision at a moment's notice. Drones are also equipped with a threat assessment system, allowing it to scan any recognizable weapon and determine if it poses any threat to itself or its operator. Dual microphones and external sensory systems were installed on the drones to allow it to geographically map out terrain and record audio. When a drone has been detached from its operator, either intentionally or by force, it will attempt to locate their suit or enter a state of low power mode, which effectively allows them to enter hibernation until recovered or another suit is detected within their proximity. Due to the ever-present issue of vital information falling into enemy hands, both types of SEAL drones have the unique ability to self-destruct. Unlike a conventional self-destruction, it will not cause the drone to simply explode. Instead, it will fry all internal systems, thus rendering the drone nothing more than a hunk of steel. The drone's self-destruct sequence cannot be forced by an external entity, with the exception of their own operator. Drones are also capable of shutting down to their own accord, depending on their sentience. SEAL commanders, regardless of owning the drone or not, have the ability to override a drone's self-destruct sequence. The Type A Scouter Drone. The Type A Scouter drone was created for aerial reconnaissance, offering a bird's-eye view to its operator and being able to speedily travel with a quadruple thruster system powered by the 2 fusion batteries located on its metallic shell. It was capable of reaching speeds of 50 miles per hour and being able to reach the aerial height of around 100 to 125 feet while in flight. The Type A was considerably the most aerodynamic drone created, and weighed in at about a maximum of 80 pounds. The Type B Carrier Drone. The Type B Carrier Drone was created to be the opposite of the Type A, being solely capable of operating on the ground with its insect-like appendages, which allowed it to excel in environments that were incredibly hard for infantry to traverse or acquire intelligence in through traditional means. It was also capable of carrying lightweight equipment, which is why it earned its nickname as the Carrier. The drone itself was able of carrying 50 pounds total of equipment. Normally, the drone was capable of scurrying across the grounds at speeds of 30 to 35 miles per hour, but with the very aerodynamic Type A, the Type B significantly weighed more, with the added appendages coming in at around 100 pounds. SEAL suits and drones are not allowed in Deep 6. Non-operated SEAL drones are not permitted to utilize the FLIR or night vision modes. Non-operated SEAL drones are not permitted to go anywhere beyond 30 feet of aerial height. SEAL drones are not humans, and they have no emotion, nor can they feel pain. SEAL drones cannot have childlike personality traits. SEAL members have full access to all functions of drones listed above. Here's an image of a SEAL drone, showcasing where all of its utilities are. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at the Lord for the Engineers faction in After the Flash 3 Remastered. The status quo. The SEALs in Sandstorm, commonly referred to as Engineers or the Engineers, following a change in how they work, currently act as tech collectors, stealing and trading for high-grade military gear, technology, and other various things they believe should remain in their hands and not anybody else's. There are a number of ways to how this could be done, but the most common means of obtaining resources is through battering. Of course, a SEAL could use their artificial strength to subdue a wastelander for their technology, but that would quickly give our group, being the engineers, a discern of hostility, and would likely be their downfall. With that, robbing should be kept to an absolute minimum. Technology ranks. Due to the bunker only having so much space, SEALs on patrol have to choose what they can bring back with them. The following ranks are represented by 3 colors. Green are low priority, orange are medium priority, and red are high priority. Here are some following examples of tech from each rank. Views of other factions. Due to the way that the SEALs work, conflict with other post-Flash survivors and factions was inevitable. Not all SEALs in the bunker see other factions this way, although these are the most common viewpoints. If the text is red, it means that the faction in question is currently unaware of the faction's existence. Disclaimer: factions listed in enemies do not grant you permission to attack them during hosts or other various events. Ranks within the bunker. While SEALs outside the bunker are usually highly unorganized, the engineers have a centralized hierarchy in order to have an orderly, uniform structure. The SEAL leader is Andrew Gordon. SEAL commanders are the SEAL Council, a group of highly trusted individuals that do most of the day-to-day work within the bunker, giving orders and taking orders from the leader. They're distinguished by their insignia, marked helmets, and/or armor. Application sorters are respected SEALs. These are SEALs who are highly respected by the other SEALs, and as such, they are given more tasks and control over the SEALs by the Council. They help run patrols and keep troops in line. SEAL remnants and Descendants are bunker inhabitants, the backbone of the engineers that make up most of their numbers. They are vigilante and brave soldiers who are more than qualified in combat and many other situations. Though they hold no real power, each member of the engineers are respected amongst each other. The lore for the alternate universe that After the Flash 7.5 takes place in is slightly separate from the main timeline, and it's relatively detailed. Introduction. In the early 2020s, the United States' global power was on the steady decline to failure. Their influence and seat on other nations, predominantly Europe and Asia, had taken a substantial loss. While the United States was drastically failing on the political spectrum, the military still remained the most powerful and far more advanced technologically speaking, and with this steady decline in global power, coupled with the tensions of the Asian Continental Military Force, the United States government sought to create a new project. This project would give them an overwhelming advantage over their enemy, one of that would be capable of guaranteeing success in the battlefield, and ultimately reinforcing their military might. This project would soon come to be known as the Synthetically Engineered Assault League, or SEALs for the shortened version. Officially being commissioned in 2020 by the United States government and its military, the SEALs were quickly pushed into development after the U.S. began sending out contracts en masse to companies such as D Corp, VTI, Cerberus Dynamics, and DARPA, that were otherwise well-renowned for specializing in various different fields that would make the SEAL program possible. It wouldn't be until 2025 that the program would meet its full capacity. The first batch of SEAL suits, which ranged in the hundreds, were officially ready for testing by the mid-2020s, and the U.S. military began to rapidly recruit among its best to be selected to the program, ranging from USACOM, or United States Special Operations Command, operators of varying branches to those a part of lesser-known entities in the U.S. The SEAL program selectively chose the best of the best to be among them, as being part of the program was not only viewed as something truly special, but carried high prestige among the ranks of the military and eventually became the most combat-effective and feared military asset ever seen once they were deployed and exposed to the world during World War III. The first testing phase of the program officially ended in 2030. The SEALs also first saw deployment in the same year across southeastern Asia, primarily in China. Within the first few weeks of deployment, the SEALs had completely revolutionized modern combat and had tipped the scale of any battle to their favor without question, which had ultimately resulted in quick strides for the United States against the Chinese during the early days of World War III. During the early days of the 2030s, the SEALs were continually upgraded and making advancements to their suits based upon operation in the battlefield. This kept the U.S. one step ahead of the ACMF before they could develop weapons to directly combat the SEAL suits. Come 2032, the SEAL program was at the apex of its development and was reaching the last stages of testing new suits to provide to their operators, though was cut short as the ACMF had made a bold move across the Pacific Ocean to invade the United States, which resulted in mass deployment of the SEALs across the nation to defend it. The ACMF was met with heavy retaliation by the U.S. The SEALs that were able to effectively deploy across the western coast ensured the invading forces' progress was slowed, and at some locations was even halted. The group of SEALs that had gathered in Oregon had given the most resistance to the ACMF. However, they were cut short as the event that would become the Flash would occur, silencing the United States and the rest of the world altogether, all at once. And that's all the SEAL lore. Thanks for watching.